सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। From the verse 26, मुक्तसङ्गो नहं वादी मुक्तसङ्गो नहं वादी धृत्युत्साहसमन्वितः धृत्युत्साहसमन्वितः सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्योर्निर्विकारः सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्योर्निर्विकारः कर्ता सात्विक उच्यते कर्ता सात्विक उच्यते रागी कर्मफलप्रेप्सुः रागी कर्मफलप्रेप्सुः लुब्धो हिंसात्मको शुचिः लुब्धो हिंसात्मको शुचिः हर्षशोकान्वितः कर्ता हर्षशोकान्वितः कर्ता राजसः परिकीर्तितः राजसः परिकीर्तितः अयुक्तः प्राकृतस्तब्धः अयुक्तः प्राकृतस्तब्धः शठो नैष्कृतिकोलसः शठो नैष्कृतिकोलसः विषादी दीर्घसूत्री च विषादी दीर्घसूत्री च कर्ता तामस उच्यते कर्ता तामस उच्यते। Describing the sattva guna in different ways. The sattva guna, the purity of the mind, is first described in terms of the jnanam, the knowledge of perception. Then same purity of the mind described with reference to the attitudes one has towards karma, towards actions that one performs. In these three verses, the same sattva guna, the purity of the mind, is described in terms of how a person performs the action. Mukta sangaha, how he is free from attachment, which means he has no particular agenda, no particular goal to achieve for himself. As we've been saying all along, that when you perform action, there are two goals to be achieved, understand. When an action is performed, such as shooting an arrow, one action to be achieved is that the arrow should hit the target. That is one agenda that I have. Second agenda that I have, that's an agenda for the world, let us say, as far as the action and the outcome is concerned. I have a personal agenda also that by hitting the target, that I want to feel good about myself, I want to feel worthy of myself, I feel I'm successful, and thus I am also seeking what we call the ego gratification or self-glorification through that action. So there are two elements whenever you perform. The ego is always involved in performing some action, and therefore, not only, even when I am serving community, I do a variety of things to serve the community, that's one thing. And through serving the community, that I seek a certain visibility, recognition, some fame, that's another thing. You understand? So, when we talk of the result, there are these two elements about the result, which is not very often not understood. And what is it that Lord Krishna is saying when he says that you may give up the attachment towards the result? or become indifferent towards the result is not becoming indifferent towards the physical aspect of the result. That is, I must make sure that whatever I do is done properly, and the goal I have in mind, if I am building a house, I want to build it properly, I want to make sure the house is built. Whatever I am doing as a doctor, engineer, as a professional, or as anybody, as a housewife, anything that I do, well, certainly I put myself and try to see that the proper outcome comes. That is karmanyavadikara, says, that is my responsibility. Lord Krishna says, it is your responsibility to perform the action properly. But that other aspect that I am seeking through the result, and that is, as I said, in ego gratification, a self-glorification, is also internally what I am seeking. It may not be an expressed agenda, but that is internally an agenda. To promote myself, make myself visible, make myself important, assert myself in some way or the other. Self-promotion also is going on through every action. That is what is meant by Sangam Tektva. Lord Krishna says that give up that element, stop promoting yourself. You need not. Because when you are promoting yourself, you are promoting the ego, and thus you are promoting only your sense of individuality. The same insecurity you are promoting. And therefore also said, Mukta Sangha, unattached to the result, meaning unattached to the personal outcome. Not unattached or indifferent towards what my result, what my action will bring about. Well, I am particular about it. I want to make sure that what I do is done properly, rightly, and that the outcome that I want is reached. I try the best to do that. But through that, the personal glorification that I am seeking, become indifferent to that. Don't seek that. And as I said, a karma yogi or a sattvic person doesn't have a personal agenda. He doesn't promote himself. He remains an instrument in the hand of the God and promotes the God's scheme, let us say, rather than his own particular agenda. If this is understood, then we will know what is meant by becoming detached from the result of the action. Because this part not being understood, people have a lot of difficulty. How can we perform an action with detachment towards the result, being indifferent towards the result? How can it be? How can you perform an action without keeping a certain goal in mind? No, you cannot keep. Prayojanam anudishya namandobi pravatade. Even a dull-witted person also does not proceed to do anything unless there is something to be accomplished. So when I am walking, there is a destination that I want to reach. When I am traveling, there is a destination I want to reach. There is always that is okay. But through reaching that destination again, I am seeking some personal glorification. That element, Lord Krishna says, that is a binding element. That I perform an action and that result is gained is fine. That is just the cause and effect. But I judge myself successful, I judge myself a failure because when my personal agenda is not fulfilled, then the success and failure comes. I feel that I have failed when my personal agenda has not been fulfilled. I feel that I have succeeded when my personal agenda has been fulfilled. So the sense of success and failure comes on account of having a personal agenda or having the agenda of self-glorification. When I am glorified, I am successful. I am not glorified, I am a failure. When I am glorified, harsha, I am elated. Unglorified, I am depressed. Harsha shokan vitah karda. All these are attitudes born of rajas. So Lord Krishna says that give up this rajas. So we should recognize what are the attitudes born of rajas and try to restrain them. Siddha siddhyoho nirvikara, and therefore he remains unaffected or unperturbed whether his personal glorification takes place or not, or whether the success comes or not. He knows that he has done the best he could do, and well, the Lord takes care of the rest. Siddha siddhyoho nirvikara. Therefore the one who is always devoted to the Lord, surrendered to the Lord, and therefore functioning as an instrument of the Lord, he is a sattvika karta. So when we see in ourselves this tendency of seeking self-glorification, promoting my personal agenda, etc., then we should know that this is born of rajas. We should try to identify that and then slowly seek to restrain that, work with that. Because when there is a personal agenda, then I become insensitive to the agenda of other people, and very often my personal agenda is achieved at the cost of somebody else's agenda also. That is called himsa or injuring others. In some way or the other, I injure others when I want to make sure that a given goal has to be achieved. Something has to be done, very often it is at the cost of someone else's agenda, and therefore himsa or injury also takes place. A sattvic person is ahimsaka, he is a non-violent person. Doesn't want to hurt anybody. He doesn't want to achieve anything at the cost of somebody. So this is how the harsha shokanvitaha, a person who is full of rajas, as we said, he reacts to everything. Either it's elation and depression. On the other hand, a sattvic person maintains a tranquility of the mind, a calmness of the mind, born of an internal satisfaction, born of an internal self-assurance, born of knowing that what is done is right. He is self-assured, and therefore he does not seek any approval from the result. We are always seeking approval from the result of an action. He doesn't seek that. He is quite assured that he is all right, and therefore whatever the result is, that's fine according to the laws of the action. So he is not seeking any approval from the result. He is quite assured that what he has done is proper. So this is how the karta, the doer, sattvic, rajas and tamas that were described. Now the Lord continues the discussion here from the verse 29. This is one of the most beautiful analysis of our personality. And more we understand our personality, more we understand what kind of changes to bring about. The reason why the sattva is discussed is so that we can cultivate that. And the reason why the rajas and tamas are also discussed in detail is so that we can identify them and we can slowly restrain them and we can get rid of them. And thus we can transform our whole personality into a sattvic personality. That's the purpose. And then alone, as we say, when the mind is sattvic, then alone there is clarity, there is objectivity, then I can see things as they are, then I can see myself as I am. When the mind is rajas, I have, as I said, a distorted perception of my own self. When the mind is sattvic, then I recognize that I am all right. Regardless of how the personality is, regardless of how the world is, I am all right. That I am essentially a peaceful, silent, tranquil, good person. That I am self-sufficient, and therefore I am independent, I am free. That free self I recognize when my mind becomes sattvic. And therefore, a recognition of true nature of myself requires a sattvic mind. As Swami always says that to discover the ananda, the fullness that I am, my mind should enjoy a relative happiness. A happy mind can discover the fact that happiness I am. So we can discover love not through the corridor of hatred, we can discover love only through love. So through a loving mind I can discover that love is my nature. Through a peaceful mind I can discover that peace or silence is my nature. And therefore, even though as far as the knowledge is concerned, no action is required, but as we say, preparation of knowledge requires a lot of effort. Knowledge itself doesn't call for any effort. Open the eyes, the color is in front of you, the perception takes place, no effort is involved, but effort is involved in opening the eyes. If I am looking in some different direction, effort is involved in directing my eyes to where the object is, in opening the eyes. And then also, if there is some defect in my eyes, then effort is involved in removing the defect. Also, thus, it is a preparation of the eyes, preparation of the instrument of knowledge, and make sure the instrument of knowledge comes in proper contact with the object of knowledge. All of that has to be done, then the knowledge takes place. And similarly also knowledge that I am complete takes place. All that is necessary to do is to direct the mind where that completeness is. As long as the mind is looking out there, naturally it cannot recognize the completeness which is its own nature, and therefore it must become self-centered, centered upon one's own self, an abiding mind. Not only that, but it must be a mind that is free from the defect of like eyes becoming free from cataract, so also mind should be free from this rajas and tamas, the impurities and agitation. And thus it becomes then our task to make our mind free from the impurity as well as free from agitation. And what are the kind of thoughts or what are the kind of attitudes arise in my mind when there is impurity? That's what Lord is describing here. Or how is the mind when the mind is pure? This description is given so that we can identify those impurities and agitations and then work with them. And thus, continuing the analysis of our personality now, in verse 29, Lord again makes a proposition of how he is going to describe the threefold buddhi, that is intellect, and threefold dhruti, that is the resolve or the firmness. So let us read the verse 29. Buddhir bhedam dhruteshchaiva Gunatastrividham shrunu Prochyamanamasheshena Pruthaktvena dhananjaya Buddhi bhedam. Buddhi means intellect. Intellect in Vedanta is defined as adhyavasayatmika Nischayatmika antahkana vrittihi buddhi. So that mode of the mind where when I make a judgment, when I make a decision, when there is a decision, a judgment in the mind, that mode of mind is called buddhi. And here buddhi is the intellect, the instrument with which I make judgment, with which I know. So that instrument of my mind, or that faculty rather of my mind with which I know and I judge and I decide, and with which I can discriminate. Primarily, the main function of the buddhi or the intellect is to be able to discriminate, meaning separate the things. Separate the right from the wrong, good from the bad. This ability to separate is called buddhi or the intellect, and this is a special gift given to the human being. So, this faculty of discrimination, buddhi, and dhruti, the resolve or the firmness or the fortitude, the ability to restrain, so ability to restrain my mind, ability to restrain my sense organs. So when I find that there is a tendency which is not in keeping with what I want it to be, then the ability to restrain that tendency is called dhruti. So buddhi, to know what is right, and dhruti, the ability to restrain what is wrong. Both of these require buddhir bhedam dhruteshchaiva. Having known what is sattvic karma, having known what is sattvic jnanam, having known what is sattvic karta, we have known now. Then we require buddhi, we require the intellect to identify what is sattva, what is rajas, what is tamas. And then we require dhruti, we require the resolve, the firmness to be able to restrain the rajas and tamas and to be able to cultivate the sattva. So buddhi and the dhruti become now the tools with which I achieve that sattva and I get rid of rajas and tamas. Therefore Lord Krishna describes buddhe bhedam, gunataha trividham bhedam. Gunataha, according to gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. Trividham, in a threefold way, buddhe bhedam. So here Arjuna, may you now listen to the threefold difference according to guna of the buddhi. Buddhi means the intellect. Dhruteshchaiva, and of the fortitude, of the firmness, of the resolve, may you listen to the differences now according to the three gunas. Prochyamanam asheshana, that is being told to you now, asheshana, without leaving anything to be said. That is, it is said completely. Pruthaktvena dhananjaya, and then pruthaktvena. Also I will tell you what is to be cultivated and what is to be given up. Shrunu, he Dhananjaya. Lord Krishna addresses Arjuna as Dhananjaya. Dhanam jayati iti Dhananjaya. So one who conquers wealth is called Dhananjaya. Arjuna is very well known to have conquered a lot of wealth. When his elder brother Yudhishthira performed the Rajasu Yajna, then one of the conditions of the Rajasu Yajna is that you must go around the whole earth, and you must in fact go around there with your own army and challenge everybody and conquer them. So conquering the whole earth also is one of the requirements of the Rajasu Yajna, and this task was given to Arjuna. He went around everywhere and brought back with him a lot of wealth, not only from the earth, even from the heavens also. And therefore, that's why since then he was called Dhananjaya. Because he won the Manusham Devam Chavittam, the human wealth as well as the divine wealth. He accumulated, that's why it was called Dhananjaya. In short, one was the capacity to conquer the wealth. So far, of course, Arjuna has conquered the outer wealth, but he has also conquered a lot of inner wealth also, because he is a man of purity, man of dharma, and also has achieved a lot of, he has also gained a lot of inner accomplishments also. Therefore, Lord Krishna addresses him as Dhananjaya to encourage him that, look, Arjuna, you can do this. So, by using these names, Lord Krishna wishes to accomplish different purposes. Here, Lord Krishna wants to encourage Arjuna that, look, you can do this. This is buddhi, you have the intellect. Dhruti, you have shown the firm resolve in the past, and that's how you are an accomplished person. Therefore, hey Arjuna, you can accomplish what I am going to now describe. With this preface, now in the next 3 verses, Lord Krishna describes the threefold buddhi or threefold intellect, and in the following 3 verses, Lord Krishna will describe the threefold dhruti or threefold resolve or fortitude or firmness. So first, the threefold buddhi, the threefold intellect. First sattvic, then rajas, and then tamas. So in the 30th verse, Lord Krishna describes the sattvika buddhi, the buddhi that is born of sattva. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha, pravrittim cha nivrittim cha, karya karye bhaya bhaye, karya karye bhaya bhaye, bandham moksham cha ya vetti, bandham moksham cha ya vetti, buddhissa partha sattviki, buddhissa partha sattviki. He Partha, sa buddhi sattviki. He Partha, he Arjuna, buddhi or intellect which is as such is called sattviki, born of sattva. Sattvika means born of sattva. Yaveti, the intellect which knows clearly these things, pravritti and nivritti, karya and akarya, bhaya and abhaya, bandha and moksha. Pravritti, doing, nivritti, withdrawal, renunciation, karyam, that which should be done, akaryam, that which should not be done. Bandham and bhaya, the source of fear, abhaya, that which bring about freedom from fear. Bandham, the bondage, moksham, liberation. So the intellect which has a clear understanding of what is bondage and what is liberation. So this is where it is said the human being has a great advantage over all other living beings, that human being can analyze, there is an analytical ability, and that is how there is a discriminative ability. So an intellect that understands that there is something called bondage, and that what I am seeking in my life is liberation, to understand this. Of course, not everybody understands that, but the one who has the capacity to understand. So one who has the capacity to see what it is that I am doing in my life. That constantly I am doing something or the other. From morning till evening, from birth to death, I keep on performing a variety of actions. And all these actions are performed with certain objective in mind. That means that one after the other, I seek to accomplish different objectives. And in spite of having accomplished so many objectives in my life, I still find myself a needy person. I still find myself not satisfied with whatever it is that I have accomplished, and therefore I seem to want to accomplish more and more. So then a person, intellect, that stops to ask this question, what it is that I want to accomplish in my life. Is there a desire behind all these desires? Because the desires keep on changing the form, one desire appears in the mind, I make an effort, the desire is satisfied, I am satisfied a moment, again another desire arises. And this desire is an indication or desire is a product of some self-dissatisfaction. Because other desire then prompts me to perform some action, brings about a certain change. So desire is always to bring about some change, because a change, what does it mean? It means that I am not satisfied with the way things are at present, and if I bring about a certain change, then it will be satisfactory. I am not satisfied with the way things are arranged at this time, here and now, and then if I make a certain change like this, I move this a little here, move this a little there, put this here, maybe put this on this side, whatever it is, then I feel satisfied. Now the arrangement is right. One of my friends had this habit. Every evening he would come home from work. His wife, of course, has cleaned the house and she has organized everything. He comes home and spends the next 45 minutes in rearranging everything that his wife has done. If his wife has put like, he does this, put it like that, this way. He'll change everything little by little, Then look at it again. About 45 minutes he'll go around and rearrange everything, and then he's satisfied. Now it is okay. So what was the need for him to do that? Because he was not satisfied with the way things were. And he feels that if they are rearranged, then it will become satisfactory. And so every action generally springs from this dissatisfaction of the way things are at present, and an attempt to rearrange things so that they become satisfactory to me. Understand therefore that basically every desire represents a dissatisfaction with the way things are, and therefore a need to bring about a change so that I can bring them to that which is satisfactory to me. Whether or not I can bring satisfaction is a different matter. But the point is that there is a desire, that there is a need to change, shows a dissatisfaction with the way things are. And thus I have been doing it from my birth. I have been doing things. I am bringing about change in myself, I am bringing about change in things around myself, and still I have not discovered a perfect pattern. I have a certain idea about what is perfection, and I am working towards it. If I just have a house with 4 bedrooms, Swamiji, if I have a job and I am making $120,000 a year, if I have a car of a certain kind, if I have children like this, if the spouse is like this, the children are like this, and this is like that, if my work is like this, there is a picture that I have about what will be perfection. And I am struggling or striving to achieve that picture. Having reached that picture after a lot of work, then I think this 4 bedrooms, if you have a sun porch, and if you have this kind of a deck, and if you have this thing, and if you have that, then it would be better. And this car, then this is all right, but one car is okay. We need another car for shopping, a third car for driving long distance, a fourth, we require some boat, we require something. And again I work hard, struggle hard to bring about that picture. I have that. Then I survey. I feel this is not quite all right. This is not all right. And then I bring out some other change. This is going on like this 10th man, really. That he counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then discovers that the 10th man is lost. And he's searching for the 10th man. Maybe he's up in the hill there, behind the hill there. Maybe he's fallen in the water. Maybe he's somewhere there, and that's how he's searching for something. He doesn't know what it is. If you ask him to draw the picture of the 10th man, I don't think he'll be able to draw that. If you ask him to describe the 10th man, I don't think he can describe. He just has some kind of vague idea of the 10th man he's searching for. He doesn't even know what he's searching for, and therefore, even if he comes across somebody, he would not be able to identify this as the 10th man anyway. And so the human being is searching for this perfection. Searching for this completeness. If you ask him to describe it, every day he'll have a different description. So when we write our essays, when we are at school, what is my dream and so forth, then there will be one essay. When I come to the college, what is my dream? There will be another essay. After having finished that, my essays about what is my dream keep on changing. Human being is searching for something but doesn't know what it is, doesn't have that clarity. Bandham moksham chayaveti, a buddhi of the intellect which has this clarity. That look, what I am searching for is something permanent. What I am searching for is wholeness or fullness. What I am searching for is freedom, but unconditional freedom. I am searching for happiness, unconditional happiness. I want happiness, but I do not want the dependence to go with the happiness. And so I want happiness and freedom. I want love and freedom. I want freedom with everything. This is what I am searching for. And then he analyzes whether is there anything in the world that has the capability of giving me this. And discovers, as Mundaka Upanishad says, Parikshalokan karmachitan brahman nirvedamayat. Having analyzed all the accomplishments that are possible through action. And by action we mean an action performed to change something, accomplish something. Whether all accomplishments added up can also add up to the limitless that I am searching for, he understands that it cannot. Tad vijnanartham sagurumeva vigachet. And that is how he has this insight that what is needed to be done in life is to know something rather than to achieve something. Maybe the 10th man is not lost, the 10th man is to be known what he is or where he is. So bandham, one who understands the nature of bondage, the buddhi that understands the nature of moksha, liberation, everybody is seeking liberation, there is no question about it. Whoever is born a mumukshu, is born with a desire for liberation, desire for freedom. Everyone loves freedom and everyone loves happiness. But the love of freedom comes from my conclusion of my present conclusion that I am bound and I want to become free. It is taken for granted that I am bound. It is taken for granted that I am unhappy. It is taken for granted that I am limited. And having taken that for granted, then I am trying to become limitless, I am trying to become happy, I am trying to become free. Like the 10th man has concluded, taken for granted, the 10th man is lost. That I am the 9th man, and with that conclusion, he is searching for the 10th man. Similarly also, the human being is searching for this freedom. Having taken for granted that I am bound, bandham. But the sense of bondage that I experience, is it really the reality about me? Or is it just a notion about me? Everybody takes this to be reality, that I am bound and I have to become free. But here is a buddhi, the intellect, that looks and understands that no, maybe that I am bound is not the reality about me, it is perhaps a wrong notion about me. And therefore, freedom is not something to be achieved, freedom is something to be understood. As Swami always says, you don't have to believe in God, you have to understand God. Similarly also, maybe freedom is something to be understood rather than something to be accomplished. So, maybe there is some problem with my understanding. And therefore, this buddhi understands that I need to understand it correctly. Knowledge is what I need rather than accomplishment of what is not accomplished. That it understands that bondage is a product of ignorance, bondage is a notion and not a reality about me. And therefore, liberation is nothing but the removal of that notion rather than achieving something, achieving a real liberation. What liberation is? Nothing but freedom from the notion of bondage. Bandham moksham chayaveti, this basic clarity of what it is that is my problem and what it is that is the solution, the buddhi, the intellect that understands is called sattvika buddhi. And that happens perhaps by exposure to the teaching, exposure to the scriptures, and also on account of having lived a life of dharma, and therefore a certain insight arises. As it arose in Arjuna, who recognized that he needs to know something, that's how he submitted himself to Lord Krishna. Shishyasteham sadhimam tvam prapannam. O Lord, I am your disciple, please instruct me. And thus, this buddhi, the intellect that understands that bondage is not a real thing. That bondage is a product of ignorance. And that all the human sadness can be traced to ignorance, and that there is no real cause other than ignorance, and that the sadness or the sense of bondage can go away only when ignorance is removed, then this person's life now becomes a process of removal of ignorance. Rather than achieving what is not there, his life becomes a process of removal of ignorance. Bandham moksham chaya vekti. Then he knows pravrittim cha nivrittim cha. Then of course renunciation will become his way of life. Not acquisition. There are two ways of life. One is a life of acquisition. When I am convinced that I am insecure by nature, I am bound by nature, I am unhappy by nature, then acquisition of what is not there alone can make me feel good. But if I understand that this sense of smallness is a notion and not a reality, then renunciation of that bondage becomes a way of life. Pravrittim cha, nivrittim cha. Pravritti, acquisition. Nivritti, renunciation. And so he understands what is to be acquired, what is to be renounced. What is to be acquired? Sattva is to be acquired. What is to be renounced? Rajas and tamas is to be renounced. Yes, we have to get rid of something in our life. Raga and dvesha, attachment and aversions. That it is attachment, aversion, and that anger and the jealousy and the greed, all of these which are products of attachment and aversion, they are those which actually deny me the happiness that I am. The happiness is there already as my nature, but it is denied because of these obstructions, and therefore, in fact, I remove these obstructions, nivritti. So then my life becomes a process of removing the obstructions of what? Attachments, aversions, lust, anger, greed, jealousy. These are the things that are in fact denying me what I am. And acquiring what? Acquiring those what we call the divine qualities, or cultivating the divine qualities, amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, humility, non-pretentiousness, non-violence, forgiveness, accommodation, straightforwardness, devotion. Then those things become valuable to me, and therefore then my life becomes a process of acquiring those. So what is pravritti? What is nivritti? Renunciation. Pravritti is activity. And renunciation becomes a way of his life. And as we say, renunciation doesn't mean giving up things. Renunciation means giving up the sense of ownership, giving the attachment. So the question was asked last night, Swamiji, if after all we have to give up all our wealth after 50 years, why do we struggle to acquire it in the first place? Don't acquire in the first place. Then what do I do, Swamiji? Acquire me? Don't have a sense, don't have an unnecessary, don't depend upon that. Don't become dependent upon that. Get what you need without becoming dependent upon things. What happens is we become just dependent upon things. As they say, what is meant by progress is converting the luxuries into necessities. That's what is happening in our life. So they say that comfort comes as a guest, lingers on to become the host, and stays on to enslave me. That's how this comfort and luxuries, all of them come. And soon before I realize, they become necessities. And soon before I realize, I become controlled by them. I cannot do without them. There are many people, I'm sure, who cannot do without a cell phone. They cannot do without a computer. Cannot do without the internet. Cannot do without this. Cannot. How can you have life without that? 25 years ago, nobody heard of these things. That was all right. But now, I cannot do without that. Not you have to do without it. Not that you don't use them. Says Ishavasya Upanishad, Tena Tyaktena Bhunjithaha, you enjoy everything without being attached to them, meaning without being dependent upon them. So as long as there was no air conditioner in my cottage for last 10 years, I could do without it. At the most there's a fan and stuff like that. And now, a slight discomfort, there is a central air conditioning. A slight discomfort, all I need to just switch on a little bit. That's it. In 5 minutes, everything cools down, becomes comfortable. All it requires is using this air conditioner for 3 months, and then a day will come when I cannot do without it. It's nice to have comfort, but it is not nice that I am controlled by the comfort. They say, look what science has done. Science has created all these conflicts and created all these... Science hasn't done anything. Science only has given us empowerment. We should know how to use that empowerment, that's all. If you don't do it intelligently, then what is meant for empowerment becomes a very burden. So that is called nivritti, that is called vairagya, that is called dispassion, which arises from viveka, that yes, these things are meant for my use. I am not meant for them, they are meant for me. I eat food, food does not eat me, things are there. And so, that will be the next step when we discuss it, dhruti. But the idea is nivritti, meaning renunciation. Renunciation is detachment. All the time asserting my freedom. Ask yourself, am I free in doing this? I am drinking a cup of coffee. Am I free not to drink it? I am eating a slice of pizza, nothing wrong in it. Am I free not to eat it? Can I stay away from it? Then you enjoy it. No, Swamiji, I cannot do without pizza. Pizza is my weakness. When pizza comes, I can't. Then think about it. As Swamiji says, when I am sitting on a dining table, I ask myself, do I have the freedom to push my chair back, push back my chair? No, not until I finish that, not until I have that, then that means that I am not eating food, the food is eating me. As we like to tell about this king, he was once asked he used to ride horses. Once he was asked to climb an elephant. He rode the elephant. He says, give me the rein. Because he was accustomed to rein, on the horses. So give me the rein. He says, sir, there are no reins on the elephant. He immediately jumped down. He says, I do not want to sit on an animal which I cannot control. So retain the freedom. That's all that we are saying. Have all what you need. If you need $1 million, have them. But retain your freedom. Let not the $1 million govern you. Otherwise, there are many stories. Like, if you want to trap a person, if you want to see what happens, this man was a poor man, and I guess somebody decided to really test him. And one morning when he opened his door, he found on the porch a bag containing golden coins. And he counted them. Wow, he was a poor man, he had never seen gold. And all of a sudden now is what? A bag full of golden coins. He counted them. How many were there? 99. He says, hey, just one less than 100, we should have 100, I think, So now, to get that one additional golden coin, he asked his wife, look, we should do something with it. And so they started eating 1 meal instead of 2 meals a day. And sitting on the vegetables, doing without vegetables, doing without milk, doing this, just walk instead of going by bus. And really he struggled hard for 6 months. Then he could save enough money for 1 golden coin. He added that and then counted again. Again 99. Again he struggled hard. This is how a lot of time went, but all added up to 99. Then one Mahatma Sadhu was passing by there, and this man went to him and he said, look, what's happening? Sir, what should I do? There are 99 golden coins, sir. I just want 1 more. I want to make it 100. He says, where did you get it? I found my porch. He says, better throw it away. Because you will never be able to make it 100. Then it controls me. 99, I can't do without it. 99, I must have 100. The 100th coin will control me forever. Because we can never find satisfaction with what we have. We always want something more. When that comes, something more. That comes, it never adds up to 100. What it means is that it never adds up to what I want. And therefore, tena tyaktena munjitaha. Enjoy everything that you have. And God has created plenty of things to enjoy. You need not even have them. Enjoy them where they are. Let the flowers be right there. They need not be in my room. I can enjoy when the flowers are brought into my flower vase and I place them in front of me. Then alone I can enjoy them because they are my flowers. Doesn't matter. We can enjoy them where they are. But retaining freedom, that's called nivrutti. Freedom is all, another word for freedom is renunciation. That's a big word, But all renunciation means is that make sure that you enjoy something, that something does not control you. You're not controlled by it. And that's how renunciation of raga and dvesha, rajas and tamas. That's called nivrutti. Through pravrutti, performing action, but action is performed in such a way that it gets rid of the existing raga dvesha rather than accumulating more of them. Karya, karye, bhaya, bhaye. What should be done, what should not be done. This buddhi knows. What action should be performed and what should not be performed. What is dharma, what is adharma. What is in keeping the order, what is violating the order. He understands that. Karya, akarya. Bhaya, abhaya. What is the source of fear? Bhaya means source of fear here. And abhaya, what it is that will bring about fearlessness. He knows that adharma, violating the order, is going to bring about fear, is going to bring about unpleasant consequences. He knows that getting attached ultimately is going to bring about unpleasant consequences because he'll become dependent and he'll be controlled. So he knows what is bhaya, he knows what causes fear, he knows what it is that will bring him, pain in future. And therefore bhaya and abhaya, what it is that will make him free from fear. This detachment, this viveka, the discrimination, vairagya, the dispassion, the detachment, that is vairagyameva bhayam. There was one great poet saint in India, his name was Bhartruhari, and he is very famous for having written three sets of 100 verses each. And he wrote on vairagya, he wrote on niti, he wrote on shringara. So vairagya shatakam. And so in one place he writes, Sarvam vastu bhayanvitam bhunrunam vairagyameva bhayam. Everything is fraught with fear. Only vairagya, dispassion is the only thing that is free from fear. Bhoge roga bhayam. If you get attached to anything, there is going to be fear. Pleasure is one thing. Attachment to pleasure brings about bhoge roga bhayam. The bhoga, attachment to pleasure, brings about roga, disease. And like this he keeps on going. Bhoge roga bhayam. If you are attached to wealth, always fear from the king, or fear from the tax, in internal revenue, whatever it is. So fear from thieves, fear from those who take it away. Bhoge roga bhayam, kule chuti bhayam. You are too proud and attached to your family, then always a fear of falling in your behavior, in your character. Too much attachment to the beauty, to the body, to the youth, always fear of old age. Too much attachment to the body, fear of death. Too much attachment to your scholarship or knowledge, fear always from those who will challenge your knowledge. You have too much attachment or pride of your virtues, always fear of those who are going to condemn you. Every moment there is an attachment to something, there is always fear associated there. Vairagyameva bhayam. Detachment from everything and objectivity to everything is the source of abhayam or fearlessness. So karya, karye, bhaya, bhaya. This intellect which knows what is to be done, what is dharma, what is adharma. What will bring about fear, what will bring about fearlessness. What is to be done, where the renunciation should be. What is the cause of bondage, what will bring about the liberation. With the clarity in this life. This is the buddhi. So the nature of the buddhi or the intellect is to understand, to have the determination, to have the decision, to have the clarity, to have the discrimination. And thus the intellect which has the discrimination is called the buddhissa partha sattviki. Hey Partha, this buddhi is born of sattva. And then rajas and tamas. When you understand sattva, it's easy to understand rajas and tamas because opposite of that. So next verse tells us what is the buddhi born of rajas. Yaya dharmam adharmancha, yaya dharmam adharmancha, karyancha karyamevacha, karyancha karyamevacha, ayathavat prajanati, ayathavat prajanati, buddhissa partha rajasi, buddhissa partha rajasi. Yaya buddhya, the intellect by which ayathavat prajanati. A person doesn't have the clarity. He has doubt. He cannot decide. He cannot come to a clear understanding or decision about whether this is dharma or adharma. See, one having sattvic intellect knows or understands this is dharma, righteousness, this is unrighteousness. But when rajas comes, then the mind gets a little clouded. Mind gets a bit agitated. And therefore, I don't have the clarity. Is this right or is this not right? There is a doubt or there is lack of clarity with reference to dharma and adharma. Dharma means what is righteous. Adharma, what is not righteous. Dharma, what is in keeping with order. Adharma, what violates the order, is not clear. Why is it not clear? Because there are many temptations in the mind. A person with rajas always wants to enjoy things. Bhoga buddhi. Rajas gives us to raga or a bhoga buddhi, always a desire for enjoying things, acquiring things, owning up things. Therefore, when there is a course of action, which is known to be a righteous course of action, but as far as this fellow is concerned, he is afraid that if he takes up that course, then he will not be able to get his bhoga, his pleasure. He may not be able to accomplish what he wants. Then there is a doubt here or confusion whether this is the right course or the other is the right course. Dharmam, adharmam, karyam, akaryam. What is to be done? What should not be done? What is the truth in this situation? What is not the truth in this situation? What is non-violence? What is non-violence? Because every situation requires me to interpret these values. It is not enough to know that I should speak truth and I should not hurt somebody. But it is necessary to have clarity also as to what is meant by truth in this situation. What is meant by non-violence in the situation, that clarity this person doesn't have because his mind is clouded or by this rajas. Rajas means dust. Imagine a mirror. What is sattvic mirror? Mirror is very clean, you can see the reflection very clearly. What is rajas? There is dust on the mirror. You can see it but not clearly. What is tamas? Mirror is covered completely. You cannot see anything. Sattva, rajas and tamas. So rajas means the mirror of the intellect is covered with dust and therefore he is never sure of whether this is dharma, this is adharma. Karyam, is this the right thing to do or this is not the right thing to do? Ayathat prajanati. He understands them other than what they are. He wrongly understands them or he doesn't have the clarity or the doubts about that. So that kind of buddhi is called rajasi. That is the rajasi buddhi, intellect born of rajas. And what is tamas? The next verse tells us that. Adharmam dharmamitiya, adharmam dharmamitiya, manyate tamasavruta, manyate tamasavruta, sarvarthan viparitamscha, sarvarthan viparitamscha, buddhissa partha tamasi, buddhissa partha tamasi. What is tamas? When a mirror gets distorted, then that is the tamas. So here, adharmam, dharmamiti manyate. The intellect with which one judges what is adharma is dharma. What is clearly wrong, what is clearly unrighteous, what clearly violates the value, he thinks that this is dharma, this is the right thing to do. So there are many people actually who have different kinds of causes. We know how in the history, how great people have been assassinated. Whether it's the Lincoln, or whether it is a Kennedy or whether it is Mahatma Gandhi, assassinated. With assassins who believe that these people are dangerous. Somebody thought Mahatma Gandhi was a great danger to India. And therefore he should be gotten rid of. And therefore he is assassinated. Now he thinks that what he is doing is right. He is quite convinced about it. He has a conviction. That is, he has a buddhi in which there is a conviction that this is what should be done. Adharmam, dharmamitya. That which is clearly wrong, clearly violence, clearly damaging, hurting millions of people in the whole humanity perhaps, but he thinks that that is the right thing to do. This is tamas. Adharmam, dharmamitya manyate. That which is wrong is interpreted as right. That which is vicious is interpreted as virtuous. That which is violating the order is interpreted as in keeping with the order. Why so? Tamasavrata. Because his mind is avrata, is covered by tamas, is covered by darkness of ignorance and the aviveka. What tamas brings about is aviveka, superimposing what is not there. For example, seeing the snake where there is rope, and the superimposing snakeness upon the rope, and so also superimposing viciousness where there is virtue. So virtuous person is judged by this person as vicious. A vicious person is judged by him as virtuous. So I was quite surprised few years ago when I read in the Times of India, that there are some well-known mafias in India. And one of these mafias, one journalist must have gone to one of these famous mafias, and this fellow told me that he regularly receives applications from young people around the country who want to be recruited. He gets applications from young people who want to be recruited because they believe that that is what is to be done. What he's doing is right. And thus, otherwise how can they go on with it? How can a Veerappan, for example, in India, how can he go on with what he's doing for 20 years? He must have many people to support him, otherwise it's not possible that there are two states, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, and all the police, everything is after him. He must have tremendous support from the people, even though he is accused of 141 murders. And still, there must be any number of people who believe that what he is doing is right, and this country, this government deserves it, and that is what should be done. And that is how we have this militant terrorist activity is totally destructive. Tamas, because they think that is their conclusion or their determination about what is national honor, what is their personal honor, what is right, who deserves what, and this is how there is completely distorted perception. That buddhi that judges things totally wrongly. This is called buddhissa parthatamasi. This is a buddhi ayathavat sarvarthan viparitamsya. He has come to all this kind of conclusion because he sees everything in a wrong way. What is right appears to be wrong. What is useful appears to be useless. What is virtue appears him to be vice. And he believes that. Sarvarthan viparitamsya. He judges everything as totally opposite of what they are. And therefore, he comes to the conclusion that this is dharma, whereas in the eyes of the world, it is adharma. Buddhissa partha tamasi. Hey partha, this is tamasi buddhi. In fact, Arjuna himself displayed this buddhi. In the beginning, when he said, I see no purpose in fighting this battle. According to Lord Krishna, this is born of tamas. So he had in front of him his duty, which is dharma of a kshatriya, and he somehow came to the conclusion that this should not be done. So Lord Krishna starts to lift him from tamas to rajas to sattva, and from sattva also to that which transcends all the three gunas. We do not even want to be confined to sattva, understand. But a sattvic buddhi is required to understand that which transcends sattva also. A buddhi which has rajas and tamas cannot do that. A vairagya, dispassion, creating a distance is not possible when there is rajas and tamas in my mind. That objective distance is possible only when the mind is sattvic. And therefore, the first effort is to make the mind sattvic. And then that mind can see that which is beyond the sattva also. So sattviki, rajasi, tamasi, buddhi. Buddhi means the discriminative faculty. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.